Groove is everything, in everything, as it should be. But I love when the groove is honest, like they meant it when they play it. The most important thing is making sure y'all land on one, or not. These are mental constructs that a lot of times we hold ourselves accountable for. It's also important to allow yourself to break away from them.
Eric Harland is one of the most in-demand jazz drummers in the world. Since the 90s, he's been a cornerstone of modern jazz, bringing his creativity and innovation to collaborations with McCoy Tyner, Charles Lloyd, Chris Potter, and Dave Holland. Please welcome Eric Harland to Drumeo. Man, insane.
Oh, man.
I'm so excited for this stream. To all of you out there watching, please welcome Eric Harland to Drumeo. We finally made it happen, and it's so great to have you here, man.
Oh, it's so good to be here, man. Thanks, Brandon.
And I'm personally excited for this stream because you're like one of my all-time favorite drummers. And
You say that to everybody.
I don't say that to everyone.
What?
Though maybe I should.
All right.
I'm really excited to sit here and see what you do over these tunes, and you have a really, really cool body of work.
Thanks, Brandon.
Eric also filmed some exclusive content for our Musora students while he was out at the studio, and he covered topics like limb synchronization, free time playing, and subdivision transitions. And if you want to check those out, they're available for free at the link down in the description. So Eric, we're going to be playing a bunch of music throughout this stream, and I think I just want to take this like tune by tune and kind of talk about some things that we're going to hear in each one, because we'll talk about your setup, we'll talk about some concepts and stuff, but let's jump right into the next tune. Travelers from Aaron Park's Invisible Cinema.
Yeah.
So what can people expect from this tune? I know the groove is pretty wild.
I don't know. The thing for me is I try not to overthink it. And that's the beautiful thing about Parks, of him being a Libra and very spacious in his imagination. He allows so much room for imagination. So we just tried some things, and, this is kind of what came up. But, another more kind of fun story is that right before the session, I was trying to change a tire on my car. For some reason, I didn't have AAA at the time, so I tried to do it on myself, trying to be like, the man. And in all that arrogance, I ended up breaking my thumb.
Oh, no.
And so I had a brace, and so the whole album, I played what I call the claw. And so it was weird, because I'm trying to do that groove. And I couldn't use my thumb. It was in a brace. And, you just got to find a way to make it, to participate. And I love a challenge, and that was a beautiful challenge. Dude, it was definitely one of those ones.
Yeah, I remember trying to even learn some of the songs on this record. Like, it's one of my favorite records. And it's a challenge enough just to try to figure out what you're playing on the kit. But now that I know you had a hand that was busted.
Busted, man.
It's a whole new level.
Because I had to learn how to use, the strength was in these fingers, and this had to be the, normally, we talk about French grip, American grip, German grip.
Yeah.
And so you think about what a fulcrum is. And then sometimes cats are doing it this way, where it's like they're kind of doing the middle finger.
Yeah.
And having everything come from that way. But it was so weird. Yeah, I mean, can y'all see this? I mean, it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's
like sitting there trying to.
That's bizarre.
But
it worked.
It did something. Yeah. I felt bad, and I kept apologizing to the cats after the session. I was like, man, I hope it was cool.
Yeah. Well, it's on record, and now the story is out there.
That is.
Love that, man.
Much love.
Well, let's hear you play this tune. This is Travelers, and then we'll chat about a few things after.
All right, cool.
So in that tune, like, so much happening. But I think the coolest thing, probably for drummers watching, is all the stuff you're doing with your feet. Like, you've got your heel on a second set of hi-hats, you've got double bass happening. How did you get into all those kinds of sounds, and when did you start kind of exploring the kit in that way, where it was just more than just the traditional kit?
You know, honestly, for me, man, I just got bored.
Best answer.
Yeah, it's like, man, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you sit at home and it's like, yeah, I can do this all day. But I was like, oh, okay. And the thing is, there's a video on YouTube actually when I first started to attempt the double hi-hat thing. As much as I had been trying to practice it, I got discouraged because, you know, if you read the comments, you know, it was a lot of negativity. You know, people were like, "Why? Who would play two hi-hats?
Yeah.
Why would you even do that?" You know, that's. And I was like, "Oh my God!"
Thanks, internet.
Man, you're not allowing me to just, you know, be creative in a moment. You know, whether I make a mistake or not. And fortunate to the universe, you know, I stuck with it, and then thankful also to like drummers like Marcus Gilmore that also does the double hi-hat, keeping me encouraged and like, man, that's a sound, you know, don't deviate from what that is. And so yeah, I decided to bring it back, you know, against all odds, and just, you know, try to figure out, and, you know, getting to a point in life and myself, and I guess maybe it's because I'm getting older, what's more important? Because I've been observing like geniuses like Herbie Hancock. And he still plays, you know, we like to make fun, we call them the fruit songs, and, you know, Cantaloupe Island, Watermelon Man, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he approaches them in such a different way because he approaches them from where he is now in the moment. And I'm learning from that. It's like the way I played things before, that was great, but bringing back things that felt honest and true to me, just so I can investigate them more. I don't know where this is going to go. I may start having 3 hi-hats.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, but that's what keeps life fun. You know, that's what keeps music and artistry fun. And hopefully it's encouraging to all the young artists that's out there and that's doing things. I always just keep trying to do stuff because it's inspiring, you know, to my soul, and it keeps me wanting to do this thing over and over again. So
yeah,
that's what's up.
I think that's a great lesson in just, you don't have to have just the standard kit. You can put your snare on the other side. You can mess around with anything that comes to mind. So that's like a great takeaway for anyone who thinks they can't do something because of the rules per se, but.
That's true. And you get an opportunity to challenge yourself. And that's what I like. I don't know about for anyone else, but when I feel like I know something too well, then I get bored.
Yeah.
And then I'm just doing the same thing. And now, don't get me wrong, if I'm in a position or I'm part of an ensemble that requires for me to do that, perfect.
Yeah.
But the thing about, I mean, the lifestyle that I live and the genre that has been called to me is very open to improvisation and to finding things that truly just feel authentic in the moment for yourself.
Yeah.
Because the whole concept is about listening. You know, if Chris Potter's playing something and, you know, the flight was delayed and, you know, we just got to the hotel, we got 30 minutes, you wanted to take a nap, you couldn't take a nap, you wanted to get some food, next thing you know, you're dragging your cymbals out.
Yeah.
You know, we all going out. I don't have hair, so they can't tell when I'm like, haven't been sleeping, but Potter has hair, and it's just kind of flopping in the wind.
Yeah.
So I already know he's like, oh man, you know, you get what you're gonna get tonight, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing because once we get on stage, you know, and we start playing, the thing what we have is each other, and it's the community, and it's the love, and you know, you just trust the facility that you have. And you just try the best that you can to make music, or allow music to make you. That's maybe the best format because it definitely comes from something greater than who we are. So
yeah. One other question before we move to the next tune. I know a lot of people always ask about ride cymbal playing, and even in that tune, towards the end, like you're doing quite a lot on the ride. What would you recommend to people who want to start exploring the ride cymbal a little bit more? Who should they listen to? And how do they maybe get more into that kind of realm of playing?
The thing is, the more that you practice and you get the basic facility of what it takes to anchor a song, right? Then that's one concept, Basically, even if it's something super simple, it's like, if that's what the tune calls for. But even in that, you can start to move around the kit. So I'm still here, but I can also, I understand forgive me for calling like the liquid, but it's like the lucid imagination of like a freedom of sound, right? So it's like something can be here. Now I can play against it. But I understand where the pulse is.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm actually going for something intentional, but I am going for something intentional. And the intention is to remind myself that you can be free within construct. Because I feel like we all deal with mental constructs, whether it's based on religion or whether it's based on practice or whether it's based on academia or whatever. These are mental constructs that a lot of times we hold ourselves accountable for. And sometimes, as much as we are learning them, it's also important to allow yourself to break away from them, and to allow yourself to have something, just to explore something else and be like, ooh, cool. I don't even know how to explain that yet. Like, it's just kind of like this open space and time. Yeah. So that's why it's really hard, because I could say, oh yeah, I'm kind of doing like triplets or, whatever. I could say all kind of stuff, but to be honest, I'd be lying. Because the honest part about it is that I'm just kind of focusing on what's grounding, Three. And I'm trusting that the listener understands pretty much the cadence or, the pattern that has been introduced. Like once you hear that, that's in there. So once that's in there, now I can do anything.
Yeah.
So it's, you start to move into like that free atmosphere where I'm just, I'm just trying stuff, man. I'm just trying stuff from an organic way.
Yeah.
And I mean, ooh, Lord, if the good graces of the universe could give me more intellect to be able to describe it even more in detail, I would be so happy. But for the meantime, I can only describe it the way that it's coming to me, which is just kind of like an honest approach to just really trying to allow myself to be free. And the concept is really because when you're playing with people, you don't want them to feel fixed into a certain situation, because the song is already fixed. So it goes back to the same concept. How can you be free within the construct of what's happening in the song?
I mean, even just within that, though, like establishing whatever that theme with the kick drum,
you
can hear it or parts of it when you're on the ride or when you're moving around the kit. Like that foundation is still there, whether it's underlying or whether you're playing it exactly like that.
Exactly.
Let's jump to the next tune.
Okay.
This is one you suggested, Sleepless Night, from this record here. One of my favorites, Aziza.
Yeah.
What can we expect in this tune?
It's been a while since I played it, so I'm not sure.
See what it brings.
Yeah, see what it brings. It's a great tune by the great Lionel Lueke, and
Let's jump in.
yeah, let's just jump in and see, you know. man.
Wow.
I'm sorry, that joint is crazy. I mean, in the studio, we were like, what?
Yeah, well, I'm curious what that session was like. Like, did you all bring in tunes for that, or was
we definitely all brought in tunes for it.
Okay, and then kind of like came up with parts and all that together, or did you walk away and have some time with
No, everybody wrote their own compositions, and then ultimately we just tried to figure out how to play them. Like he came in there, was like, man, you was definitely sleepless that night?
Yeah.
You didn't get no sleep. No, brother. Yeah. No sleep, brother. Laying there in all his sweetness.
Yeah, love it.
God bless him.
I want to jump back a little bit. So when you started playing drums, first of all, when did you start playing drums?
Oh, well, actually, piano was my first instrument.
Okay.
And it took my grandmother when I was like 5 years old. And my mom was cooking in the kitchen. And my mom was such a disciplinarian on the piano that every time I tried to go to play the piano, she was like, you're not practicing your scales. And it just freaked me out because I was like, I just want to play the piano. I don't want it to be so strict, please.
Yeah.
And so because she was so strict, I gave it up. I still played it in like my private time, like when she wasn't looking around. Okay, she ain't in there. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're safe.
Yeah, that safe space, right? But what I ended up starting to do, and it was a great conversation, because I had this conversation with Gonzalo Rubalcaba, amazing, probably arguably one of the world's best piano players living today. We have kind of like a sibling experience because he started with classical percussion. And then he moved to piano, and I started with piano, and I moved to percussion. But I enjoyed when I was hearing my mom cooking in the kitchen, like, when you grow up in the South, I'm from Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
It's a way about the way that Crisco oil would hit that skillet, and it would just be popping.
Yeah.
And it just made a sound, stuff was frying, and, pop, 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 and people getting burnt and all that kind of stuff. It made sense to me, so I would try to emulate that on the pots and pans while my mom was cooking. I would just sit on the floor. And it just happened to be one day when my grandmother was there. She saw something, and she told my mom, she was like, I think he wants to play drums. And my mom was like, no, he doesn't. He wants to play piano, blah, blah, blah. We're already working on it. My mom, she's just beautiful, just super disciplined, and, if she's told to stick to a certain path, she rides it all the way.
Yeah.
Until you can have communication about it, and then, hopefully she can navigate into a different course. But it was so beautiful that my grandmother was open to say that to her, because what ended up happening was my uncle, who's actually a trumpet player, he knew of this great drum instructor who I feel like now is like the mecca of drum instructors, because his name is Mr. Craig Green, and I call him like the Buddha teacher of the drums, because he not only taught me, but he taught Chris Dave, Jeremy Dutton, Kendrick Scott, Jamari Williams, Mark Simmons, Sebastian Whitaker, like all these great Houston drummers. The tandem, we all came from him, and he's featured on the Jamie Foxx, I guess. He was pretty much the interpretator of this documentary that's called The Thunder of Soul. And so The Thunder of Soul is basically the Kashmir Gardens jazz band. And in that time, in the 70s, it just kind of wasn't heard of, because me and my wife, we were fortunate to go, Chris Dave and everybody, Robert Glasper, Beyonce, Jason Moran, Walter Smith, Mike Marine, it's a whole bunch of us. We all went to the same high school that was Performing Arts High School.
Wow.
So when Kashmir Gardens was starting their stage band, a Performing Arts High School hadn't truly been implemented yet. It was just iconic, and it was before its time. And, but also I bring props to, we call them props, but Conrad Johnson, because not only did he do that, but he started this, a way for young, jazz artists, whatever you was trying to do, to be a part of a jazz camp when you was like 10, 11, 12 years old. and they were just teaching you jazz standards. And the thing is, when you learn it that early, it really becomes a part of your, like, you know, your own. You can't say, I guess you can say anatomy, but it's not really anatomy, but it is anatomy because it's in your body. Because once music is in your body, then you can actually really play it from an honest source, like versus like really trying to read it.
Yeah.
And so it was a beautiful opportunity. So, but again, bringing it back to Mr. Green, which I still call him the Buddha teacher of the drums. One thing that he taught me that I think which would be great, because when I went in at 5, you know, I was ready to be a rock drummer. So my sticking technique was like, everything was
in the clouds.
Woo. I was like, I'm trying to get to it.
Yeah.
And you know what? The most beautiful thing, he didn't tell me to stop doing that. He just came over and he put a stick right here. And he was like, with the same energy, get the same sound. So basically, I couldn't move past this. And so I had to learn how to get the sound from here. And he kept moving down. It was, and all of a sudden, everything I would try to do like this, I had to learn how to do like this. I had to find different ways, and that's when I started understanding finger technique. And wow, and then control. So when you see me, that's where the control comes from, because he was like, yeah, nope, yep, nope, you know. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, you can get the same sound, and it don't have to go like, you can just, you know, you can do all this, you know.
It's way more efficient.
Well, yeah, you can last all night at, you know, at that, you know, you don't get tired and feel like you gotta, you know, douse yourself with something, you know. It's just, it's nice, you know. But it took a minute to get there, and so, Mr. Green, love you and thank you so very much, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Cool.
Cool to hear the story of how players go from being in the kitchen listening to the Skillet to playing the venues that you play and with the artists that you play with. It's pretty amazing. Let's jump to the next tune. So we have Circuits with Chris Potter.
Cool.
What should we know about this tune?
Well, I mean, the whole thing came together just kind of like on a whim, because normally the Circus Trio is just a trio with me, James Francis, and Chris Potter.
Yeah.
But before it became the Circus Trio, it was kind of like, it was a trio before, but James wasn't in it. The first rendition of it, it's just like a whole thing.
Yeah.
It was me, Chris Potter, and Reuben Rogers. And then, yeah, after that, it kind of morphed into like a different thing, and we were just trying to figure some stuff out. And so this is pretty much a quartet. My man, Lindley Marth, I think, you know, probably one of the best bassists that used to play with Joe Zawinul and Syndicate. You know, he's from the Mauritius Islands. And he just has a way of interpreting the bass that's just unique and beautiful. And it's great. It's good times.
Awesome. Let's do it. This is Circuits. We're making you work.
Man, I was trying to remember all that stuff. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That solo in the middle is
It's
something
crazy,
else.
man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
When you're playing a tune like that, I think that tune's mostly an 11, or at least the head's an 11 or something.
Yeah.
But are you mainly just kind of cycling that main melody in your head, or what's your process when like trying to play something that's maybe more irregular than something else?
Well, I think the most important thing is making sure that you understand the melody. Honestly, that's the easy part, because it's it's static.
Yeah.
It's something that stays in place, and you can play around it. You can shape around it as you want to as a drummer. The hard part is when you get to the solos and you're still playing an 11, because depending on who you're playing with, if they are also embracing like a more free approach to how to play over the bar line, you start to realize, like, if you don't really know 11, you're out of luck, man. Like, you be over there like, you be waiting on somebody to drop the one.
Yeah.
Somebody help me out,
Yeah.
And that's why when I realized how important it was that if I was going to play odd meters, how much I needed to sit with them and really get them in my body, like play 11-2, 11-4, 11-8, 11-16, 5-2, 5-4, 5-8, 5-16, 7-2, And because that way I can feel the big beat and how that adjusts, because you can count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, or 1. So you start to feel the space within the time, and that way, when you feel the space, then you can give that space to the artist that you're playing with, and they feel freer to like do different moves. And the most important thing is making sure y'all land on one or not. That's even more fun. It's when you kind of, I don't know, evade the one for like a long period of time.
Yeah, and then bring it back
at
some point.
Yeah, that trust gets real.
Yeah.
Because you be looking at each other like, man, you know where we at? You know what's
coming back.
Do you know where you at? And be getting, y'all know where y'all at? And then it's just something so beautiful. Then when it's like, boom, everybody is one. It's like, oh, you can feel the room just like levitate, and it's beautiful. So yeah,
love that. We're getting close to the end. We have 2 tunes left, but one of the ones you wanted to play was "Human Nature" by Michael Jackson.
Nice. Yes, sir.
And I think you mentioned you want to talk about how you approach like a pop tune like this.
Groove is everything, in everything, as it should be. But also, the freedom of improvisation is also beautiful as well. And I feel like a lot of jazz drummers feel kind of pigeonholed to, all right, well, if I'm gonna play this tune, I have to sound like I actually play like actual pop groove, We all adjust ourselves to learn that, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe it would have been nice if someone could have introduced something just a little bit different to Michael, because he was such a sensitive soul that it's cool, you can lay it in the pocket and it's perfect, it works, like it's in there. But I also like to just showcase that, you could just do a little dance here and there, kind of hit some key notes that's happening in the harmony and in the lyrics, and just kind of see where it goes. And then, if the groove hits, then do the groove. But if it's kind of lucid for a minute, that's also beautiful as well. It's like it has a more open approach and stuff like that. It's all good. That's why it's hard to talk about it, because you don't want to say, no, don't groove, because I love some groove.
Yeah.
But I love when the groove is honest, And I feel like most of the greatest groove makers were the greatest because it was so honest to them. Like they meant it when they played.
Yeah.
And most of the greatest jazz drummers that we hear played the way that they played because it was honest to them. And that's what made it true, and that's what honestly feeds your soul and gives you something at the end of the day. So, yeah, I just wanted to try something.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right, here it is.
Cool.
That's such a great exercise for being able to pick out melody and just be able to be free within that and catch the vocals and the key or the chord changes and all that.
Yeah, I kind of learned that when I was listening to the John Coltrane Quartet. And being a drummer, you would think I would have just picked out Elvin right away.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I was hearing all the lyricalness that John Coltrane was playing. And then the lesson came in is how the band orchestrated itself around the sound of what John Coltrane was doing. And that's what really started teaching me. I was like, ooh, like, Elvin is, he's playing all this stuff, but it's in context. In the context of what was happening in the band, as Coltrane is moving and through the changes and McCoy is hooking it up and, Jimmy Garris is on bass. I mean, different configurations. But you could hear Elvin like, okay, well, what's missing? And it was just like this. So all that stuff could just, could free flow, ethereal, and be expressive. And he was just, it was like he was just putting the gravy on the chicken,
Yeah.
Or the chicken, and they were adding the gravy, however you want to look at it. And it's just so beautiful how it's important that things work together, because everybody in that band equally is great, but how they chose to come together and to create a masterpiece, like something like Love Supreme.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it took a lot of listening and a lot of patience and, a lot of wisdom of seeing like, well, what's the most important thing right now? Is it just me personally sounding great, or is it about us being great together?
Yeah.
And that's, all great bands. I mean, that's the secret. They're like, okay, I sacrifice who I am so that we can establish something. And the thing is that gets weird too, because you feel unheard for a long time because, you're part of a unit. And the thing is, when you're part of a unit, you sometimes feel like you're excluded in a certain way. But it's not true, because you're sacrificing yourself for the unit, and what people see is the unit. So ultimately, you should just really take joy in the unit, because you're actually contributing to something that's greater than yourself. And that's probably one of the biggest gifts that you can give to anyone. You know what I mean? Is that you're there for the teamwork. You know what I mean?
Well, we're almost at the end here. Eric, this has been great to see you play and all the insights that you've shared along the way. Lots of takeaways here for people to hopefully apply to their own playing. And
it's fun. It's good times, man. It's good times.
And if you've enjoyed the stream and you're a fan of Eric Harland, he also filmed some really cool content for our Musora students on topics like limb synchronization, free time playing, and subdivision transitions. And you can check them all out for free at the link down in the description. And Eric, it's been a blast hanging out with you, and lots of stuff coming for the YouTube channel and in the members area. Yeah, we're going to close with Aziza dance.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here it is.